Hey y'all, happy Thursday. Welcome to another What Else is Going On, aka We Go Podcast YouTube video. I'm your girl, your host, Taria. So I was out there and I said, let me run back in here real quick and do a quick video for y'all. Truth is, I'm tired, but I'm gonna get it together. Boom, boom, boom. Anyway, how y'all doing? I miss y'all. This video is going to be, like I said, really quick, really short. So we learned earlier this week that Simon has been deported back to Nigeria. And in that video that I did, I believe it was the last video that I did, I talked about their divorce hearing. So I did the video, what, Tuesday? Because the hearing was yesterday, Wednesday. Well, shout out to Lakeisha Keisha on YouTube. She went to the hearing. And y'all know I love a good journalist who shows up in court hearings. Y'all know, listen. So shout out to Lakeisha Keisha. She went to the courthouse. And then I feel like I always put out the disclaimer. It is really not necessary, but some of y'all, y'all love the content creators y'all love, and the ones y'all don't. And even if they're telling you something they know or for fact or have evidence, proof, or whatever, y'all still don't want to hear it. But to some degree, we're all like that, right? But anyway, Michelle Atalian is a friend of Simon's, and she had an actual conversation with him. So we're going to listen to just a brief snippet. I thought it was kind of funny the way she said it of what he said about the divorce proceedings. Baby, Porsha. Don't make me call Porsha for a loan, honey. Porsha is getting her money. First off, I just want to show you the proof of the Keisha. Keisha, again, shout out to her for being in the court room. Now, this was yesterday. And I'm just going to play a small snippet.
We are live, y'all, at court. Also, we got 7 people. So we are live, y'all, in court. I am at the Porsche. Can y'all hear me? Let me see. Can y'all hear me? I hope y'all can hear me. I think I'm gonna take these off. Can y'all hear me? Let me see if y'all can hear me.
I wanted y'all to hear something else.
So they gave me a 10-minute break, y'all, at the hearing. Baby, it is going down. Simon is there. Porsha is there, y'all. Porsha tried to get me kicked out. Porsha tried to get me kicked out.
All right, now I'm going to stop that one there. So when she says Simon and Portia are there, they are both there via Zoom. And she goes to explain how basically she did a video about Portia and saying this plan of having a man take care of you, of Simon take care of you. Like that's not a plan. That's not going to work. And saying that Portia didn't have any money. That was her video. So when they saw her in the courtroom, because again, Portia, Simon, and their attorneys were all Zoom. It was just her and the judge, Lakeisha and the judge in the courtroom. When Portia saw her, she said she wanted her out. Her lawyer argued that she wanted her out of the courtroom, and they pulled up that video of her talking about Portia, but the judge was like, "Nah," because she had already submitted paperwork before. You also can record in the courtroom. She did record some of the proceedings. I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to get into the nuts and bolts, honey, of Miss Portia's. Some would call it a victory, depending on what side you stand on. If you were with Portia saying the prenup should be enforced, you're going to call it a victory because guess what? The prenup was enforced. If you feel like she did this for a play for money, then you may not feel like it was a victory. You may feel like it was more of a robbery. It depends. I was looking through like different comments, and I like to always go to the comment section and see what people are saying. So there is a mix. There's a mix of people saying, that's right, Portia, get your money, get your bag. Then there's a mix of, you're owed it. And then there's other people saying, you did this as a play. You didn't really love that man. You just wanted his money. You called ICE on him because people are saying that as well. But let's get into some specifics of it.
Filed. She can live there for 3 years, and Simon, is supposed to pay the bills, the mortgage, and everything.
Wait, listen.
And let me just tell you, years, and it will go back to whenever she originally filed. Talked about is enforcing the prenup. So I want y'all to understand, enforcing the prenup means that if Porsha cannot refinance the house in her name, it has to be sold. Okay. So if Porsha cannot, refinance the property in her name, it has to be sold and they have to split the proceeds. Now, keep in mind, this is a property that Simon bought before he married Porsha, but because it's considered marital property, because they live there together, they have to split it. And this is also in the prenup. Also, y'all, guess what else is in a prenup? What else is in a prenup is that Porsha can live in a house for 36 months, which is 3 years, and it will go back to whenever she originally filed. She can live there for 3 years, and Simon, is supposed to pay the bills, the mortgage, and everything. And let me just tell you why it's for 3 years. Because Porsha said when they were in negotiations for the prenup, because she had quit her jobs, and y'all remember she wasn't working. She quit Dish Nation, she quit Bravo. She said the reason.
Now, y'all, she quit her. We all know this, right? She quit her jobs, like she said, Bravo, Dish Nation, all of that, because he wanted her to stop working.
Why it was for 3 years is because she had quit all of her jobs, and if they had went in a divorce, it would take her about 3 years to start working and establish herself, because if y'all know, if you bought a house before, you have to show your tax returns. So that made sense. So now I can understand why Simon said, okay, I'm gonna pay the mortgage for 3 years. But Simon agreed to pay the mortgage because Porsha wasn't working. Now that Porsha is working, he look, wait a minute. Simon also said that since being in ICE custody, his money was not the same. But do y'all think the judge went for that? That is what Simon said. But y'all got to understand, I don't got the exact number, but Simon said he had 360 something million. Now, I ain't never had 360.
I believe he said he had 369 million.
60. I barely had one. But listen, the judge was like, okay, y'all got to understand, this is a judge who probably made 200,000, and you talking about 360 something million. They don't give a F about that, because guess what? They don't have it. So the judge was like, okay, well, even if you were in ICE custody, you wouldn't have lost all the 360 some million.
Listen to this, y'all.
So the judge was like, Also, the prenup states that Simon would still pay the mortgage. And guess what, y'all? Guess what else it say? What else do you put in the chat? What else you think the prenup says? Simon would have to pay the mortgage and the bills at the house for 3 years. If she can't refinance it in 3 years, they split the equity. But guess what else it say? He got to pay this 40.
Now, before we get into that, remember, Simon sold 2 homes to put the down payment on this home. Yes, he got it before they were married, but they were together. They were looking for the home. They were engaged. So like she said, what's in the prenup is if they were to get divorced, he's got to pay the mortgage and all of the bills for 3 years. Within that 3 years, if she wants to remain in the house after the 3 years, she has to refinance it, get it in her name. If she is unable to refinance, she then has to sell it. She's able to sell it, but she gets half of the equity in the home. He sold 2 homes to put the down payment. If they sell it, she gets half the equity. But look, I feel like you agreed to this when you got married. So I always said, why do people contest prenups if y'all sat down and went over? I mean, I know there could be outstanding other reasons, right? But I mean, something like this, you agreed to it. But guess what else? So remember, she quit her jobs, right? And she quit her jobs. And before they got married, she got an allowance of $30,000 a month. That was before they got married.
The mortgage. And guess what, y'all? Guess what else it say? What else do you put in the chat? What else you think the prenup says? You know, Simon would have to pay the mortgage and the bills at the house for 3 years. If she
Uno,
can't
dos, tres.
refinance it in 3 years, they split the equity. But guess what else it say? He got to pay this $40,000 a month. Yes, it says that. So let's
Oh,
get to
child, what
what
am I doing?
happened. Y'all want to know what happened? What?
So basically, the prenup states she gets to live. We're gonna go over it again. She gets to live in the house for 36 months while he pays the mortgage and the bills. And she has to try to refinance it. If she doesn't get it refinanced at the end of 36 months, she sells it. She can sell it, and the equity will be transferred. Now, remember, I just said that because it was her. She got $30,000 a month allowance before they got married. Once they got married, because she had quit her jobs, her allowance was $40,000 a month. He also has to pay that. So he's got to pay the mortgage, pay the bills in the house for 3 years, and pay her $40,000 a month allowance.
What y'all think happened? If y'all think the judge enforced the prenup, put 1. If you think they got to go back to court, put a 2 in the chat. I want to see what y'all think. Well, the judge, this is what the judge said. And I'm going to play it for y'all, but I'm going to upload it later. The judge,
when she said she's going to play it, because remember, she was allowed to record also, and she submitted something to be able to record the proceedings. The only time she had to turn her camera off was when they talked financials. She also said she wants to redact some information because it had addresses in there, and she doesn't want all that to be put out.
So let me make sure y'all understand this. Y'all are probably already know this. When people go to court, they hate each other a lot of times. Like when you're going through a divorce, you don't like your spouse, right?
Who you marry is not who you divorce.
Everybody start making up these excuses as to why. So when people do prenuptial agreements, the reason that they do prenuptial agreements is for what? So they don't have to do what? This. That is what the prenuptial agreement is for. So I knew when I kept looking at this judge and his facial expressions, the judge said, we is going to enforce the prenup, okay? Because the judge said he feels like that they had already did this prenup. He said that they both testified that they had been working. So Simon and Porsha worked on the prenup as long as they had been married. So what that means is Simon and Porsha said they got divorced 1 month after knowing each other. I'm sorry, not got divorced. They got engaged 1 month after knowing each other. So they start working on a prenup for what? I don't know, 11, 12 months. So the judge was like, I feel like this prenup that y'all worked on, and the judge also said the attorneys that worked on the prenup with y'all, the judge said, I know those are good attorneys. The judge did not buy Simon saying that his money was gone. He didn't buy it. The judge didn't buy it because the judge said, okay, you said 97% of your money resided in a business in the U.S. and now you say you can't operate that business because you're no longer in the U.S. Let me tell y'all what the judge did, y'all. The judge went to both of their profiles on social media because the judge knew everything. Because the judge said, you said that you can operate your business in being in another country. So the judge had already did his homework. The judge.
Child, that's why we got to watch what we put on social media. He told the judge his money was low pretty much and that 97% of his business was done in the USA and he can no longer do that. But he had put on social media something different. And I think I remember the post the judge was talking about. It was something like he was somewhere, basically he can do it anywhere, like 112, but A little different, but y'all know what I'm saying. So basically, he had put on social media he can run his business everywhere, telling the judge something different. The judge said, that, not so fast. This year, baby, baby.
Judge also said, he said both Simon and Porsha had dirty hands, which what he mean is they both did stuff. He said it wasn't just her or him. He said it was both of y'all. He said Porsha, she may have went on these platforms or done interviews and said stuff about Simon that she wasn't supposed to say. The judge was like, but guess what? So did you.
He
So
sure
I
did. He
think the
started.
judge was fair, but so this, to me, this is where it's not fair, because everybody like, well, dang, why does he get to lose his house? So this is how it works. Simon wrote that in the prenup,
He
y'all. Did
wrote
y'all
it.
know that? It's there. So the judge just said, enforce it. The judge is like, look, it's not the court's job to decide a prenup when y'all already got one. So the judge said, you guys sat down as adults and you guys came up with this prenup. You worked on it for months. Y'all testified that y'all worked on it for months. So he said it is not the court's position to change it. So the judge just wasn't buying it. So the judge is doing nothing other than what they have already in there. So let me tell you what's already in there. The reason why Porsha is saying enforce the prenup, because it all works for her. But y'all, why did Simon sign a damn thing? What was he thinking? Now,
All right, that's it. So we already talked about what's in the prenup. Child. And so I agree. When the judge, that's the first time that I've heard somebody repeat a judge saying that. The court is not here to decide your prenup. Y'all are an adults and you worked on the prenup for as long as you were married. And remember, they talked about it on Portia's Family Matters, that it was the prenup that kind of held them up, that because people are like, why aren't they married yet? Why aren't they married yet? Why aren't they married yet? It was the prenup. So if they negotiated that prenup for like 11 months, they were only married for 15. So you spent almost the same amount of time negotiating a prenup that you did in your marriage. So the judge is like, I'm just enforcing it. We ain't here to change nothing, do nothing, or nothing. So then Michelle Atieli, and like I said, she had a conversation with Simon, and this is how some of it went.
Don't honor any of the prenup. And so that's what his attorney was arguing. However, towards the end of the day, things happened. And this is according to Simon, honey. This is according to Simon. And these are his exact words. Wait a minute. Prenup was enforced. That's what Simon said. Prenup was enforced. Okay. And he also said in our conversation, which I may or may not, go into detail over on Patreon, that he is preparing to appeal. So there's that.
Yeah. Oh, child. Wait. Hold on. So, yep. Now, I have a question. If there are any attorneys watching or anybody that's maybe been through this with a prenup, the judge has ruled to enforce the prenup. If you decide, so if Simon decides he really is going to appeal it, does he have to pay during the appeal, or is that on hold while he appeals it? I am curious about that. Yeah, so Porsha Guabadia is no more. It's officially Porsha Williams. Somebody said Porsha Guabadia is coming back. It's Porsha Williams in the building. Y'all, Porsha Williams is in the building. Prenup has been enforced. She is officially divorced. Y'all let me know what y'all think. And what side do y'all fall on? I fall on the side of, unless it was fraud, like you marry somebody and they blatantly lied to you about some things. You know how you can get some marriages annulled, and one of the reasons you can get marriages annulled, but one of the reasons has to be like fraud. Well, it's different. You can get an annulment for different reasons, and one of them is fraud. I feel like unless fraud was revealed, we agreed to this prenup. We got lawyers involved. We signed. So yeah, that's why when people were like, she need to get out that man's house. On one hand, I was like, okay, I can see that. On the other hand, I was like, he agreed to it. It is what it is. So Simon is in Nigeria and Portia has the house, the mortgage paid, and the bills for 36 months. And she gets her $40,000 allowance. I do wonder, since he's in Nigeria, what if he decides he's not paying? Like, how can they enforce that? And I guess if they ended up having to sell the house, and if they sold it, and let's say they got, I don't know, $1 million that they had to split, would she be able to keep it all if he's not paying here? I mean, if he hasn't paid her. But are there any enforcements that can be done because he's in Nigeria? I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Hopefully we will get to, well, not hopefully, I guess she'll talk about it next season. Also, isn't the word on the curb, but she's in Scotland filming Traitors? I guess we shall see. All right, y'all. I love y'all so much. I'm about to get back and ease on down this non-yellow brick road. Talk to y'all later. Love you. Drink some water, and what else? At least eat a piece of fruit, y'all.